Well, but the thing is that what I'm saying, I'm not saying this is the way, but what I'm saying is that there has to be a cutoff, right? You can say that this problem was created, let's say it's a result of, bad programming, because that's what I attribute a good portion of it to. Bad programming about what it means to be a man, what it means to be a father, what it means to be the leader of a household, and what it means to take care of your progeny, future generations. Just like you said, you have to have a sense of, what you're doing for the future generation. So what I'm saying is like, you know what? Whatever the reason is, and clearly it's not just African Americans. I mean,
Oh yeah,
Native
I was going to say
Americans have
that. Yeah, I
had
mean
have had a
that's
history of
society.
this.
It's yeah,
Yes,
it doesn't matter.
but I'm talking in terms of my context, right? And my
Right.
situation, and I can talk about it. And I'm saying, okay, people, there has to be a day and a time where we say, yeah, we see that problem. We see it. Now, what are we going to do about it? Because if it was bad programming, there has to be a day and a time where we say, this can't continue. Because I think at least 50% of the children in the United States live in single family households where no dad is
Hmm.
present.
Right.
Um, a significant portion of women grow up without their father in the house. And that just creates a whole other cycle because she's going to go out, pick some guy who, she doesn't know what she's looking at, and then have a kid with that child, with that guy. And this is not everybody, obviously, but then have a kid with this person, and then that kid's not going to have a child. So fatherlessness is like a big growing problem in the United States and really in the world. So I'm saying there's got to be a way. And part of the way is that we have to find out from a spiritual perspective what life is about. Like I think I said to you yesterday, you get here and you get this deck of cards. Okay, you get this mother, you get this father, and in my case, you get this dad and this mom, and it's not the ideal deck. Let's put it that way. It's not the
Right.
deck you would have picked if you knew if you had a
Well,
chance.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, actually, I was having a conversation yesterday with someone who basically was it was not of our race, was born with basically a golden spoon.
Hmm.
And, he was telling me how he grew up and et cetera, et cetera. And like you talk about the deck of cards and, you know, we all were dealt the deck that we were dealt, and we somehow have to figure this thing out called life.
Exactly. That's
And
exactly
and I was thinking about it the other day. Life is not easy.
not at all.
No, it's not. I mean, even if you if we're quote unquote doing things what we figure is right,
Hmm.
I mean, from as simple as getting up, making your bed,
Hmm.
cleaning your house, and then and again, I really contribute or attribute having a clean house to having a mind that is somewhat clear.
Yes. Yeah. It's a reflection
And
of your mental state. Hmm.
exactly. So to me, all these other underlying things, they're all interconnected to a
Absolutely.
certain degree. Obviously, you have people who were born with everything and they kind of just
Right. Cruise.
cruise and do whatever and they're just as screwed up as the person who
Absolutely.
so there's
Absolutely.
that or worse in some
Right.
cases.
Which is the other thing that I talk about a lot. Is like, listen, just because your life looks this way, you don't know what the other person is going through. They may have a lot of money, they may have this, they may have that, but they got
and
issues.
and a mother and a father
And a mother and a father, and they got
that
issues.
yeah. And so I don't know if it's something we would ever truly be able to answer or fix. I just think that, I've been fortunate enough to be the person that I am and I'm fortunate to have two daughters that didn't give me any trauma, you know,
Right, right.
because then there's that side. You can be the dad and be there and be the
And
mom there,
still,
and then you have children that are, you know,
right,
you ready to like, are you
yeah,
really my child?
right. You don't know what what you're gonna get with your kids either.
Right.
Right.
So I really don't know in terms of saying that how we can fix society where men, you know, all of a sudden, you know, they're going to do what's right
Oh,
and be, which it's
I
definitely it's not going to happen. You know,
well,
they're
I
gonna
don't think that we could, but I think you know, my idea is saying, listen, number one, dads, you're super important. Don't think that it's nothing.
oh,
Being the dad
absolutely.
is like
Uh, and even
crazy important.
it's, you know, I was having a conversation. Actually, it was on a panel. I was the moderator of the panel, and we were talking about men, mental health, and men
Yes.
supporting one another.
Hmm.
And I was saying that a woman cannot raise a man to become a man. And trust me, even though I said my grandmother and my mother gave me
Hmm.
everything that I have, but
Hmm.
there is so much that's not here because of not having that
Right.
man in my life.
Right. And things that you probably had to figure out that they couldn't
Oh,
figure out for.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And the same thing as a man can't raise a daughter and give a daughter and give her everything that she would need.
Right.
So we are, you know, we do the best. You know, there isn't a book.
No, there
Well,
isn't a
there
book.
are books.
But there is a book.
There are
There's
books.
a book.
There are books.
Yeah.
There are books. I didn't say there are books, but when it comes to and when we started, I said, you know, I have friends who are grandparents, who
Right.
probably even great grandparents at this point
Hmm.
in their
Hmm.
life, and you know, had children when they were 15 and 14
Hmm.
and 16, and that
Hmm.
still happens. And so, does that 15-year-old boy and that 15-year-old girl, do they stay together? It,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's difficult. That's
yeah.
difficult. Well,
And then
now,
does he continue to go on the rest of
yeah.
his life doing the same thing?
Right. And
And
at
does
15,
she?
what can he really give? And she as well. But at 15, what can they really give to that next
Right.
generation? But you know, we could obviously talk forever, but I want to spend a minute because you mentioned to me that at one point your daughters wrote something to
Right.
you, and I just wanted you to share that a little bit before we concluded, at least for today. Because my observation, like I said, is that, and I didn't know the things that you've spoken about today. I didn't know them about you, and I'm sure there are many people who didn't know what you shared about your experiences with your parents, and so that's super interesting. But then you turn out to be this amazing dad. And then ultimately you have two daughters who didn't absolutely drive you crazy, right? Because that happens also.
Right.
And then they turn around and what is it that they wrote to you about, you know, you as
Um,
dad?
yeah, actually, this was a publication written about a year or so ago about me, and they were a part of it in terms of
Mm,
what was written. And it just was heartwarming to read what they were saying in terms of who they saw me as.
mhm,
And you know, the one thing I always say, in particular with myself, and I think probably with all of us, we really don't see ourselves the way the rest of the world sees us.
true that. Hmm.
And you know, the things they wrote is how proud they are of me being their dad and being there
Hmm.
for them all their lives. And really, that was the gist of it.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm just grateful for them being who they independent women. And I've never had any issues, never had any concerns about them doing anything um, out of the ordinary that would harm them. You know,
Right.
it's not even about me, it's about them.
Right.
And they've been two beautiful women who have matriculated through life and, you know, doing their thing.
Right.
So, yeah. And so I guess I did something right.
Yeah, just a little something.